Are you on a good phase right now or what?
Yeah, I'm good.
You're
I'm
in a
good. It's been 2 or 3 days that I'm good.
You've been okay. Let me pull up the document I had you fill out for the appointment, and I can go through it together with you one by one. Okay.
No problem.
So let me open the share screen. So just to review, I mean, the big picture, your initial chief complaints were gastrointestinal issues, fatigue, brain fog, depression, and then we were working on trying to have you have more of the good days, but not so mania, and then less depression states. And if you're depressed, try to get you out of that sooner. And then the first time we did a follow-up, I think it was 3 months after we started, you noticed some improvements. It was 50-50. And now it seems like you've had some recent stressors and things that have kind of pushed you back. And you want to kind of figure out the next strategy is, right? That's the impression you got, right? Okay.
Yeah.
Now, is there anything else to add to that before I go through the document, or should we just go through the document together?
Yeah, I think we can go to the document together. I think I've mentioned a lot, but if you want to add anything, please go.
Yeah, I think a few more data points was for the emergency pack. We tried it a few times for Ali, and we think it works, but we think that it's dependent on what time of day Ali is taking them. For example, in the morning and noon, it's not that much effective, but as we move towards 4 to 6 p.m., it provides the best result. This is still a hypothesis, and we are trying to figure that out. But another observation is if he takes it too late, let's say closer to 6 p.m., it takes him to kind of being more restless and just impact his sleep as well. Yeah. So I think we are hoping that we can just work with you to see if there is something we can do differently here.
Yeah.
And you mean that's the neurotransmitter
That's correct. Yes.
Serotonin, like catechostem, dopamine, all that stuff to neurofilament.
Exactly. So I think we used it 2 or 3 times, and like majority of time it works.
Okay. What about just starting some initiation? I know that's the most difficult part for you, but even if it was just like walking across the room or just getting out of bed and then going outside and kind of get yourself going, because with your history, it's always like if you get out there and start moving, your dopamine levels start to come up. You can kind of get out of it, but it's like, can you get to that first step to get your dopamine levels back up, which is, I know, something you're having struggles with. Did you get a chance to do that during those periods where you were kind of taking?
I wasn't doing real well in the past couple of months since our last visit. Okay. However, saying that, Ozzy just mentioned that in the past couple of weeks or past couple of months, if she was to be my brain and decide what to do, I was able to take the next step. Okay. So in 2 instances, just she mentioned, let's do this, for example, let's go to this gathering because of this and that. And I wasn't really feeling it, but she made the decision and we did it. Anyways, it was very frustrating for me. I had to go and take rest a couple of times, but we ended up doing it. And okay. Yes, it was helpful. It was definitely helpful.
That's great. Okay. Now, you said since your last appointment, which parts of your treatment protocol have you followed? Supplements and movement, exercise in general. And that's just what we've been talking about, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Are you doing any kind of specific movements? Maybe you're like rocking in a chair or doing any activities really for your
Not rocking chair, but activities. It was mainly doing hikes and walking.
Okay.
Those were the main activities. I didn't really manage to make a routine out of that. That's my goal for the next 3 months. Okay. And hopefully we don't have any more dramas around. So I will get to have a routine out of that, because I think that's going to be very helpful. Like working out in general makes me really tired, but regardless of that, it's better to be tired, but being able to not have those downs rather than not doing anything, if that makes sense.
Yeah, for sure. Well, if you can avoid that depressive period where you can't function at all, it's not worth it.
Right. Yeah. And one more thing is that because we moved to a new house for the past couple of months, I think it was the main factor, not being able to keep up with the routine. We just kind of settled and trying to shape it back based on the activities around us. So I think in the next phase, we think that we can establish the routine way more, including the hiking and movement.
Yeah.
But another goal that Ali had was just optimizing his socializing, because it also helps him. And I think he was able to build that routine weekly, and he's doing like we can check that box off.
Oh, fantastic! That's fantastic. Okay, so all right, this was our initial treatment plan, and phase 1 was to go into the FODMAP diet, and I noticed you're having some parts with your gut, because when we talked 3 months ago, your gut was doing really well, and FODMAP diet really made a big difference for you. And
it's still doing well. Yeah. The only thing is, after so many years, I gained around 10% more. So I'm weighing more at the moment. I need to do probably something about it. I've diversified. I've added food. I think my sleep is much better now.
That's
but it was to the cost of like gaining, I think, a lot of weight, which I can manage like by intermittent fasting, but I haven't focused on it for the past couple of weeks.
Okay. Right, and then okay, so this is getting back to shape and diet. That's your current concerns. Okay. You gained 10% of your body weight, or 10 pounds, 10% of your body weight?
10%. So not in the pounds, but I was around 72 kilograms, and right now I'm around 80.
Okay.
So around 10% additional.
Now, I remember when I worked you up, you weren't. Are you still within normal weight? Because you weren't overweight, or you were kind of right. You could still be within normal weight with your current weight.
Yeah, I think I'm within normal weight, but this additional weight is just being fat deposit around the midsection.
Oh, you're noticing that? Okay.
Yeah, it's not muscle, and I can feel it. It's just like I'm not overweight per se, but this is not ideal for me because of the distribution of the weight.
Okay. And Ali, when you do intermittent fasting, does that bother your brain? Does it make you have more anxiety? Does it have you in issues, or are you okay with it?
Maybe for the first one or 2 days, but after that, it's just amazing. It's just a matter of being disciplined to follow it up.
Okay.
It's perfect on my gut, because that's the best. It's perfect on my stamina, because the moment I eat anything for breakfast, I get tired.
Yeah.
And that's just a normal thing. I was telling Ozzy the other day that no matter how much I sleep, the moment I wake up, I'm still tired. And having breakfast first thing in the morning adds to the tiredness. However, if I manage to have only one meal per day, that's just perfect, because after that, I know that I'm going to go to sleep, or in a couple of hours, I'm going to go get some rest.
Ali, remind me, because I don't remember your entire file. It was so much a few months ago.
Yeah.
Did you get tested for sleep apnea?
We rolled it out. I think I didn't get tested for a sleep apnea.
A sleep study. Then how did you do
that? Don't you need to? What are the characteristics of a sleep apnea? I can't actually remember how we do.
Number one characteristic is waking up not feeling rested.
Maybe we should do that test.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, should you have like breathing problem during the night if you have a sleep apnea? No, not really.
No. The whole point, they have to do the studies so they can actually see what's happening. It's not always clear, even from spouses. They're not always sure what's happening.
Got it.
But listen, this could okay. So that's like a huge thing, because if you're not getting oxygen to your brain, and as vulnerable your brain is for any kind of neurochemical shift, and the red flag symptom, I don't feel rested no matter how much I sleep, is just that you're not getting oxygen to your brain. So
would that be due to lack of movement during the day?
Not really. I mean, the bottom line is this: if you don't feel rested, no matter how long you sleep, you should always get a sleep study evaluation.
Yep, let's do that.
And sounds good.
It's one of those things, like if you have it and you maybe have to use some supplemental oxygen at nighttime, or maybe you just wear braids to get better oxygen flow. But it could be a game changer. It could be a big difference. Okay.
I thought it has a 1-to-1 relationship with snoring at night, and I do not snore.
No.
And that was one of the reasons that we rolled it out. They said, yeah, okay.
Yeah, let's test that.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, there's different types of sleep apnea. Some in which your palate falls behind you and you can't breathe. That can cause snoring. but you could just not be getting to good restful sleep. Okay. All right. So what do you like as far as your digest, like when you, I know you've been under stress with the recent home change and your schedule being off a little bit, right? That's the things. But do you think, are you still on the FODMAP diet or not on the FODMAP diet?
It's mainly like most of the time it's FODMAP diet. It's not 100% FODMAP, but it's FODMAP diet. I don't have bloating per se. It's just the, for example, I don't have a full bowel movement. I need to go a couple of times, and it's been like that for many, many years.
Yeah.
The only time that I get full bowel movement is when I use some sort of either herbal or antibiotics. That's the only way I can really get to that point.
Okay. And when you say that you gained 10% of weight, was that due to your diet change, or was it just due to more calories?
Eating more calories.
Okay.
Yeah, and eating more diverse calories, because when you only have vegetable and meat, you can't really have that much. But when you add other stuff to it, especially carbs, you can easily overeat. That's my experience.
And when you were adding those carbs in, were you getting distension and bloating?
No, not really. And the carbs are limited, like rice, and I don't really have any problems with carbs.
Okay.
Yeah, and to add to that, I think Ali started with full FODMAP diet before, but over the time he realized, for example, rice doesn't have any impact in terms of bloating, and he just gradually added that in. So it's not 100% FODMAP by the book, but those are the things that is okay for Ali.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's different sugars and starches that your bacteria in your gut will react to and not react to. But you don't get any bloating or distension when you do rice.
No,
okay.
No, I don't.
Right. So this is your chart, and you have a lot of yellow. Does that mean
it wasn't a good past couple of months, I think.
Okay. Yeah. So last time we were like 50-50. Now you're, what would you say you're at? Good days, good days and bad days, functional days and non-functional days.
Mm-hmm.
What are you, 60-40, 30-20?
Probably 60-40 or 30-70.
More on bad.
More on bad, yes.
70 bad days and 30 good days. Okay. So you lost about 20%. Okay.
Yes.
And do you think it was just the stress of the move that did it, or do you think there's anything else that could have been a factor, or do you think that's the main cause?
Yeah, I think that's the main cause.
Yeah, and to be honest, I don't think it was the stress of the movement, because I noticed when we move house, Ali has a lot of hands-on activities that needs to do, and as a result, he kind of gets better. But it impacts diet, it impacts like movement and hiking, figuring out things. Maybe you don't have time for that specific routine. So the movement itself, I don't think was a contribution to the stress, but just not allowing him to follow the right routine as he was doing before.
Okay. Mm-hmm. So it's like, for example, you notice that when you're more physically active, and you have been more physically active with walking and engaging things, and you've been more social, and those things are positive. And the last time we talked, your digestion was much better.
Yep.
But you're 20% worse.
Yep.
So that's what we're trying to figure out. You did all these positive things that have a benefit to you, right? That are noticeable to you.
Sorry, what was the question again?
Just trying to figure out, like, it seems like you're doing all these great things that are helpful, but then you're 20%.
So yeah, I think I need to. I think we talked about it before. The one dilemma that I have is I cannot make mistakes in my routine. Like if I'm doing something good, I have to be perfect, and it's very difficult to be perfect. So if I miss a day, for example, let's say I have a routine of reading 10 pages of a book every day. If I don't do it for a day or two, then I'm off track, and the side effects and impact of that is significant.
Yeah.
And it's going to be difficult for me to get back on track. And also, it's not like a normal human being, as in like you don't read for a day or two, or you don't move for a day or two. Nothing should happen to you drastically, but it's on my brain, it's drastic.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. And to add to that data, he needs to be perfect in multiple layers. That means a perfect routine of, for example, socializing, perfect movement, perfect reading. So I noticed that if he has misses in any one of these areas, he wouldn't be able to like stay up.
Okay. Yeah, I know you're so extremely sensitive. Last time we had this discussion about being concerned that your blood sugar was still dropping at night. You're gonna add some ketones at night and add some fats to your diet to make sure you were not waking up in the middle of the night. How did you do with that?
So the fats like MCT oil, I don't think it helped me significantly, but I just added other food items. I think one of the reasons that I gained weight is because I'm just eating more to make sure I don't wake up.
Yeah, and I think the rice before sleep is kind of something that keeps him to stay asleep. So we kind of are in a routine that it's not a huge amount, but around, for example, 10 p.m., he just have a small bowl of rice. And this specific carb looks like to be helping him. So it's a mix of walnuts, some oil, and just rice.
Yeah, I think that I need to work on it. I know I was always saying I don't have blood sugar issues, but I think I'm getting there because the way I'm eating, and I'm very sensitive to carbs. So I just need to just make it a bit less. If I start taking less carb, my overall blood sugar is going to be better.
Yeah.
I'm saying that because a couple of nights I had to, when I was waking up in the middle of the night, I had to take a little bit of banana.
That's great.
In order to get back to sleep. So that was for sure a blood sugar issue, I think.
Okay. So you think you're having an insulin spike because you're eating too much for your blood sugar system? Dan?
Yes, it's like, and the type of food I'm eating. So it's just because of the carbs. And I will manage it. I will have a better story to share next time.
And only carbs is what keeps you allows you to fall asleep, right? It's the carbs that help you sleep.
Okay. Yes. Yeah. And my theory is it's very difficult for my body to digest and process other things like meat, for example. I'm really comfortable with meat. My digestion overall is really comfortable. But from the time I eat the meat to the time it actually gets into energy, it's just not as easy as carbs. Carbs are extremely easy for me to get into energy.
Okay. And what about fat? Healthy fats?
Yeah, I think it's good for you.
Yeah, it's good for me. But as long as I make sure I am really careful about carbs. So I can't really, every time I move into ketosis, I will have hives all around my face and on my back. So I can't really stay in ketosis for a long time. But if I manage it and my carb is like, I don't know, maybe around 50 grams per day, I'm good. But I'm doing way more than that at the moment.
Okay. And so right now you're mixing carbs and MCT?
Correct.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, let's not have you do that. Because remember, we wanted to actually have you use ketones instead of MCT.
Yeah, that's actually ketones.
MCT is fat. And ketones are a fatty acid. They're different.
Oh.
So ketones are, MCT is a medium chain triglyceride. It's an actual fat. And a ketone is just a fatty acid portion of it.
I've tried multiple things that had ketones on it, but do you have a recommendation for the supplement?
Sure, I can find one for you. They're all kind of the same.
Yeah, that would be great. Yeah.
The only reason I say that too is because the combination of like a saturated fat with carbs is not a good combination. Mm-hmm. Whereas if you just had ketones with the carbs, that wouldn't be as much of an issue. So that's one of the things we just want. It's not the main thing. You know, your case is all these different little things that add up. Okay. Your digestion, is it directly related to you having bad days and your system being off?
It is directed, yeah. Doesn't mean that if I have a good digestion, I will end up not having a bad day. But the other way is 100%. If my digestion is bad, yes, I'm having a bad day.
Say that again. So if let's just say your brain, if your brain is bad, you have bad gut. but not necessarily if you have a bad brain, or did I get that right, or opposite?
I think the opposite.
The opposite, yeah.
It's like if his digestion is okay, he still might have a bad day. But if he is experiencing a bad day, it usually is with the digestion problem.
Okay.
And sometimes it has nothing to do with any of these. Like I might have really bad sleep, really bad digestion, really bad food, but my brain is like a supercomputer.
That's correct.
And it's fast, it's sharp, everything else is bad. The brain is on its own and it's doing really amazing things.
Okay.
And to the point that Ozzy has to tell me that slow down, please don't do that many things. And I'm like, I don't get these type of days every week, every month. I just leave me alone, let me do whatever I can do.
Well, I understand.
She's worried that I'm gonna crash out of exhaustion.
Correct.
Sure. Okay. So here we can see, some intolerance to smells, intolerance to shampoos, chemicals, so the chemical intolerance there. Not completely evacuating your bowel. But besides this, not completely evacuating your bowel, your other digestive symptoms aren't too bad.
That's correct.
You don't have like lots of bloating, distension, heartburn, things like that. So that's pretty good. Okay. Mm-hmm. And feelings that you don't completely empty your bowel is really your brain nervous system, your enteric nervous system causing those gut muscles to contract. Mm-hmm. So I think it's more of a neurologic, like a neurogenic bowel or neurological mechanism of origin more than it is like you don't have good bacteria or things like that. Okay. Yeah. Obviously, the foods you eat that may cause bloating or distension that you're sensitive to can throw off your gut because they produce different gases like hydrogen and methane impact motility, and those nerve receptors have an effect. Okay. So then if we look here, you can see you don't have your blood sugar symptoms. You still have fatigue after meals. That seems to be symptoms. It's probably mostly just due to the load of glycemic load you're giving, not necessarily the choices. Just for you, it's too much load, right? Okay.
Yeah.
All right. And then wake up tired after 6 more hours of sleep. That's where you want to look at the sleep apnea. Get that testing done. Okay. This is all thyroid. Well, these are thyroid sections, but they can all be differently. Gain weight easily can just be related to the recent carb load that's more different than before. Depression, lack of motivation, mental sluggishness, tired sluggishness. Those are just necessarily just brain related episodes of depression. Okay, so it's just the brain fatigue. Now here is the big section. This one right here, frontal lobe. And the frontal lobe is where you have lots of 3s and 4s. And this is that section where last time we talked about, you've got to activate your frontal lobe. And the best way to activate your frontal lobe is just to initiate things that you don't want to necessarily do. Walking, hiking, driving back and forth in a chair, all those things. And you have been doing that more, right? That's how you activate connectivity. That's how you raise your dopamine levels. And you made the connection of if you can just do it regularly, you may be tired, but you're less likely to have a depressive state, right?
That's correct, yes.
Okay. It sounds like you're figuring out all these different connections.
I think magic, the key point is to make sure the routine, I can follow it.
Yeah.
Every day, religiously, that would help me significantly.
Yeah. And I think optimizing on how to come back when he's kind of having those episodes, because the emergency pack definitely helps. I can see that within a few hours, Ali might get back fully or halfway through, but we are kind of not in the full hang of it.
Right. That's the dopamine, serotonin, catechostem, yeah?
Correct.
All right. Now, this thyroid panel that you had done, remember we're going to test you in a mania state and a depressive state and see what those are. This was in a depressive state, correct? This one that was done 9/26.
That's correct.
You want to see like, hey, is your thyroid a main mechanism during that? So your TSH levels are right within normal range, right? compared to your previous ones you had,
Mm-hmm.
is 3 months ago. Before that, they were pretty much the same. Your T4 levels are good. Your T3 levels are good. And when I say good, I mean not just the lab range, but we even use a tighter range, like a functional range one, at least 100, and that's good there. Your free T4 levels are, good. They're pretty close to the high end of the normal mid reference range. Your T3 levels are right in the middle.
Mm-hmm.
So those are good. And reverse T3, which is one of these things, conversion of T4 to T3 ineffective is fine. So, or is like hypothyroidism, thyroid T4 to T3 conversion, abnormal imbalance, so we're producing this reverse T3, not having too much thyroid binding and not enough free thyroid hormones. None of those mechanisms exist. So this rules that hypothyroidism, pituitary issues, conversion issues, globulin issues, you don't have any of those. So it's more likely just your brain inflammation.
Okay.
That's the mechanism of bipolar. They get the brain inflamed, get glial cells activated, they promote a depressive state, throws off neurochemistry, but it doesn't seem to be like your thyroid flaring up or having any abnormal dysfunctions during your depressive states.
Okay, that's good to know.
Then we have two, and this one you did before in June was the same thing. It's a depressive state, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So we can I think we can fairly well rule that out, that we don't have a thyroid component to that. Okay. So when we look at this here, the goal, right? So okay. So for sure we need to get the sleep study. Okay. For sure we have to figure out the load you can tolerate without throwing off your blood sugar. That's an issue with you, right? And if you can do intermittent fasting after a couple of days and still feel great, perfect. It's still going to be that consistent schedule that's really key, and movement, socialization, and stay doing those things. So that's kind of still the plan, unless you think that we need to go a different strategy. Where are you at with everything? What's your perspective?
I do agree with you. Yeah. Just need to just push the reset button, fix some of the damages that I've done in the past couple of months, and then get back onto track. And I've already started doing that. It's not I'm gonna start it from Monday thing. I've already started doing that.
What do you mean fix some of the damage you've done? Like what damage have you done?
Just gaining weight, for example.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Okay. Or reducing carbs in general, just making sure it's more manageable. I've realized, as again, you mentioned that the best diet is the diet that works for you. And I think that having carbs is generally good for me, not going to 100% keto. Having carbs is good for me. It's just should manage it. And carbs are dangerous in general, as in it's easy for you to, at least for me to overdo it.
Yeah. When you look at, let me just show you, let me go back to this. When you look at area that is the most concerning, that is directly related to all your chief complaints, it's this section right here.
The frontal lobe?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So this, obviously, with the pathophysiology of what people understand about bipolar activity, it's these glial cells get inflamed. And then there's studies where they show if the person isn't inflamed, doesn't get an inflammatory response, they don't have these episodes often. And when they measure people in like severe depressive, even severe mania, these polar ends, their inflammatory mediators are really high. Okay. Mm-hmm. So inflammatory mediators can be caused by various things. For example, stress can cause them. They could also be dietary, could also be environmental, chemical. Do you think there's any inflammatory mechanism that could be there that we're missing?
I wouldn't say the environment, because we're super careful of making it as organic as possible. But diet, I don't know. Maybe we can work more on it.
Yeah.
So do you if we look at losing 20% of gain this past 3 months?
Oh, 10%.
Oh, 10%. No, not weight, but your episodes.
Yes. Progress.
Functional days versus dysfunctional days, or less than ideal days. So I just want to figure out, like, what we still think it's the glycemic load and just some stress, or what do you think it was? So
I would say it's lack of sticking to the routines. I know it's very general term, but I always tell Ozzy that I do, when I'm on a routine, regardless of how bad my diet is, I feel good. But if I'm on a perfect diet, but I don't follow my routines, I'm not gonna have a good day or week.
And the problem is this prefrontal area is activated by dopamine, and dopamine is what allows you to have initiation.
That's true. Yeah.
So it's like
a catch-22 situation. And again, I know that you mentioned it's going to be super hard for me to do it, but I just need to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think like moving to, for example, a new house, you have a new room, you have a new, for example, place to go for walking and all of that. I think it took time for Ali to shape the new routines, which he started 2 weeks back. So I think if you continue the new routine that he generated, maybe he can kind of fix that 20%.
Okay. Ali, do you think there's anything we're missing working together that we should be looking at?
No, I don't think so.
Okay, I don't think so either, besides the sleep apnea issue. But I mean, ultimately, if you can get in that consistent pattern where you function high and ongoing, and you can keep feeding your brain with dopamine with movement and socialization, kind of stay out of that black hole, and then hopefully we get back to maybe 50% good day, 60%, 50%, and then if that stays consistent, you're actually going to, develop branching of your dopamine pathways, like anything. When you activate an area of the brain over and over again, plasticity develops. And then the worst thing is when you don't use that area of the brain, it shuts down, and there's no initiation of movement. Like cells start to regress, those axons start to atrophy and not function. So there's a period of like, what do you call it? The more you do it, and the longer you can stay in that good phase, and more frequently can stay in there, like you're changing your brain,
Yeah, I do absolutely agree.
So can you, when are you had a sleep study in the past plan, but you never followed through with it, but that's something you can do in the next month or so?
A sleep study?
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't know the ins and outs of it, or where I should go for that, but yeah, absolutely. I can do it anytime.
Yeah. Okay. So let's get that done, and let me know the results.
Okay.
And when do you want to follow up in another 3 months to see how things are going, or you can
something like that, yes, I think. I think give or take. I think 3 months is good.
Let's plan for it. However, if you have like an abnormal sleep study and then they put you on a CPAP, you gotta let me know and see if that impacts you. The biggest way it would impact you would be your feeling of energy in the morning.
Got it. Should I go and look for a sleep study clinics around me, or do you have? Okay, that's something I need to do myself.
Find a sleep study clinic around you. Call them up and saying you just don't feel rested when you wake up in the morning, and you would begin evaluation.
Okay.
Yeah.
Got it.
Okay.
Are there any, for example, labs or places that you would recommend that is kind of in Seattle, Washington area?
It's the thing. I'm not sure with the sleep centers there, but you want to find one close to your home. They all do the same test.
That's fair.
Similar test. Okay. All right. Very good to see you guys.
Thank you very much.
And hopefully we have some change and go from there. Stay consistent.
Yeah, sure. And whenever you have time, if you can send me some suggestions for ketones to make sure I'm using the right supplements.
Yeah, it's just I'll do it right now, but it's going to be something only has beta hydroxybutyrate.
Okay.
Okay. Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Have a good one. Take care.
Thank you. I just want to make some comments about the 6-month follow-up with Ali. One of the things to remember is that Ali suffers from pretty severe bipolar disorder. There is no cure for bipolar disorder. The goal is really to try to optimize quality of life. So if you're a practitioner and you're like, and you would, let's say, work with a case like Ali's and try to think that you're missing some nutrient or some hidden parasite or some individual variable that's going to cure everything, I think you'd be very frustrated. And then when you get frustrated, obviously your patient gets frustrated. And what we're trying to do, and our objectives are to really try to optimize his quality of life and his function throughout the day. And just the fact of being able to optimize more functional good days instead of these mania and depressive periods has an impact on the progression of the condition itself. So I think he's figuring out and making some really good connections to things that his body is really reactive to and what his body really needs. And hopefully, as he can fine tune those and incorporate those into a system, we can get some improved quality of life, which would be a really good clinical outcome.